Since I've been running this YouTube channel every single October, I have returned to Gothic literature for our atmospheric spooky season. Back in 2021, I reviewed Edgar Allan Poe's 10 most popular works, and I also compared two young adult Why Choose Gothic romance series. In 2022, I reviewed Guillermo del Toro's movie library in preparation for his new show, Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. This year, I want to return to Gothic literature by focusing on Anne Rice's Interview with a Vampire. We're gonna have at least one super long video specifically about the book where I give you the entire plot summary, the themes, the things to point out that you could write a longer paper on, and just kind of dive into all those little nitty-gritty details. And part of the reason I want to do this is because eventually I'd like to move on from Interview with a Vampire into the rest of the Vampire Chronicle series. Point of view becomes very important in these books. I'm also going to do an episode where we talk about Interview with a Vampire the movie, and then I'm finally going to get around to watching the new Interview with a Vampire TV series and sort of like comparing, contrasting this adaptation versus the original work versus the movie. I probably have a couple other random Gothic surprises, but I know those specific videos are going to go on the docket right now. Traditionally, I've referred you guys back to my very first invite to the Gothic Party back in 2021, but I thought it could use some refreshing now that I have like a little bit better sound and equipment than I did back then. So today we're going to review those 9 different elements that could make a book Gothic on this channel. Please remember you only need 3 to qualify to be a Gothic novel. First is going to be horror elements. Horror has a wide range of elements, but the Gothic variety hones in on pleasurable terror. And this is a scenario where something horrible is happening, but our characters, for whatever reason, are getting some kind of satisfaction or enjoyment in this process. So this could be like a vampire who's horrified that they're drinking blood and murdering humans, but at the same time, the sensation of actually drinking the blood and continuing to survive is bringing them like a deep satisfaction and enjoyment. It could be like a spiritualist or a seance person who's having these fictional seances and slowly bleeding their customers dry with more horrifying and salutacious things from the spirits. Our character probably knows what they're doing is wrong. They might even feel conflicted about it, but they're just enjoying the showmanship so much. They're loving the money and the attention, and they just keep on going with it. The point is, it's not simply a ghosts or zombies or secret society kind of scare in a Gothic novel. It's about how the character interacts with the scare. And of course, this is going to roll us right into our element number 2, character is king. As you might be able to guess from the horror elements up at the top here, it's not just about the plot or the place. It's about how our characters feel or interact with that thing. We're looking for that rich inner world, a lot of internal monologue, probably a lot of dialogue going back and forth between characters if we have an ensemble cast. These characters are going to be more reflective, more thoughtful. They're probably going to be more bookish, research-based versus action-adventure fighting kind of people. There's going to be angst, melodrama, really diving deep into like the full range of emotions, everything someone might be feeling or thinking. Number 3, more poetic prose. Gothic literature is going to have more similes, metaphors. There's going to be these longer, more flowery prose. The writing style might be more artsy or experimental instead of like a punchy, straight, just the facts kind of situation. In Gothic literature, it's not just the description that's telling you things, but it's how the description is delivered is giving the reader more information, atmosphere, and ambiance. Number 4, elements of loneliness and longing. Our characters are either going to be physically remote from everyone else, or they're going to be societal outcasts or feel like they're ostracized from the group for some reason. And there's a whole host of reasons this could be. Our character could just be really emotionally sensitive. They could have like an obvious trait that makes them stand out from the rest of the group. They could be mentally unwell. They could be seeing, perceiving, experiencing things nobody else is. There's a ton of reasons, some of them valid, some of them them not. The point is, our character is going to feel very separate and distinct and away from everything else going on. They're going to feel isolated, like they can't reach out to get help or a second opinion. Like the only person they can rely on is themselves, and they're not really able to trust others or to put their faith in another person's thoughts, opinions, or saying. Elements of human mortality. Death and the fleeting nature of life should be paramount to what's going on in the story. This might manifest as ghosts, ghouls, hauntings, seances, spirits, rituals, vampires, zombies, any number of things, perhaps just significant character death or the slow demise of someone's loved one. The point is the idea of legacy, the thought about like what is even the point of living, or how can someone make their mark if their moment here is so fleeting in the grander expanse of things. And this focus specifically on human mortality should be a little melancholy or horrific. It shouldn't be something that's simply reflective or that has like a positive upbeat spin at the end. It's got to be something that we really struggle and grapple with and becomes central to the story and how the character finds themselves at the end of their journey. Next is going to be that supernatural element. As you might have guessed from the discussion about human mortality, ghosts, vampires, ghouls, zombies, supernatural happenings or rituals are all often part and parcel of Gothic literature. In Gothic science fiction literature, we might replace this for technology. You can sort of see this even in some classics like Frankenstein, where it's this science of raising the dead versus a supernatural magical thing. These stories are big, larger than life, and here for all the feels. And to get that full range, we need something that's a little bit unreal and outside of our known experience and realm. You're gonna get that through something supernatural or unexplained happening. Now, it doesn't actually have to be a specific supernatural or scientific element. It could just be a bunch of unexplained happenings or things that eventually we learn have a mundane explanation. And sometimes that like tension between whether or not it's supernatural leaves this like delicious force and enjoyment in the prose as well. Questioning our character's mental health. If there's a lot of supernatural things happening around your character and they are the only one experiencing it, obviously one of our questions is going to be, is this character having a mental break? Are they a reliable narrator at all? And again, this tension between their real and palpable fear, their experience versus what other people are perceiving can be really wonderful and just like an excellent reading experience. And whether it ends up that it actually is ghosts and supernatural and this person is experiencing it when others aren't for a series of reasons, or whether it is a mental health thing or maybe it's all just a prank, all of these elements really combine to make us ask like, what is sanity or one's ability to perceive reality, and what do you do if how you're perceiving things is so much different than everyone else around you? Makes use of local folklore and myth. Part of the weight found in Gothic literature comes from the history of the surrounding area or setting that these stories usually are placed in. Haunted homes, abandoned asylums, creepy graveyards, old historic towns like set in an area where there's some kind of curse or strife that got them created or founded are all things that like create a palpable mark in a place and are often explored within Gothic literature. Oftentimes the whole plot revolves around what is this place's history, discovering that history, and figuring out what we can do to get rid of this resonance around the place that is kind of making everybody's lives worse. Another like pretty common trope in Gothic literature is people participating in an old historic tradition they don't understand, or refusing to participate in an old historic tradition because they think it's superstition. But either way, this like kicks off the spirits in some kind of way and things start happening to them. And all of this is going to lead us into our very last point, strong sense of place. When superstition and myth of a specific place takes so much priority in the story, it really helps make the place feel real and grounded, but it also gives that place a chance to like level up and feature itself as its own character. How the house responds to certain things starts to become like a character trait, something that the characters themselves and you as the reader might be able to predict. And it starts to become a guessing game. What does this haunted house want? I think that's something that's really fun and unique in Gothic literature too. There's not many other kinds of fiction I can think of where the place itself gets like a personality and sometimes even a motivation. And I just think it's fun to think like you're stuck within or part of like this living, breathing thing, and you have to consider its wants and drives and needs as much as your own if you're both going to get out of this alive. So those are the 9 possible elements that we would find in Gothic literature here in this channel. We need 3 to qualify to be a Gothic work, and it's something that we're going to keep in mind and keep bringing up as we go further into this spooky season October time and looking at these Gothic works. I want to thank you guys for joining me in this year's Gothic journey. I hope you guys are geared up and doing something fun for October. Let me know what that's going to be for you in those comments down below. And if you've got nothing else to say and you got this far into the video, leave me a skull or a bat emoji in those comments down below. And as always, keep reading. Bye!